Alright, so we're going to talk today about adding real numbers. And I don't think we need to talk too terribly much about the rules of addition. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with when you have two numbers that have the same sign, then you should use the sum, which means that you're going to add their absolute values. And the sum, or the answer, has the same sign as the numbers that you just added. So hopefully you're checking your work, and these are the three answers that you got on those problems. Now, if my signs are different, if I have one positive and one negative, then I'm going to subtract their absolute values. So different signs subtract. We're going to subtract their absolute values. So when we look at 10 plus negative 46, we really do 46 minus 10, which is 36. And because 46 is actually negative, that means that we have negative 36. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with those rules, and hopefully down here you were able to check over those problems and you did just fine. What I really want to focus on in this video is over the properties of addition, things that make adding a little bit easier. We have 4 rules we're going to focus on, and we're also going to apply them in our next video about multiplication. So the commutative property. The commutative property of addition tells you that the order in which you add two numbers does not change the sum. And that's best illustrated with this example. Well, not necessarily just this example, but we're going to illustrate it with this example. Negative 1 plus 3 is exactly the same as if you took 3 plus negative 1. Either way, you're going to get a 2. And as I walked around class, I did see that a lot of you had put 2 next to this example. But I really want to make sure you adjust your notes so that you have this idea that it doesn't matter whether you go negative 1 plus 3 or you go 3 plus negative 1. That changing the order's that key word there. The second property is the associative property. And the associative property has another key word. It's the fact that we're going to group. So when we have more than 2, so 3 numbers or 4 numbers, that it doesn't matter how I group them as long as everything is being added. So 1 plus 2 plus 3. It doesn't matter if I group 1 plus 2 and then add 3, or if I do 1 plus and group 2 and 3 together. Either way, you're still going to end up with 6. This identity property. I like this word identity because when we see that word identity, we know that we're talking about staying the same. So when we talk about using addition, right, the identity property of addition, what do we add to something so that it stays the same? And hopefully you're looking at me going, duh, I'm going to add 0 because 4 plus 0 is equal to 4. The inverse property of addition, the sum of a number and its opposite is 0. So when I see that negative 9 plus positive 9, I know I should get an answer of 0. Those are our 4 properties of addition. Now, let's go to that next page and let's practice a little together and practice a little on your own. Remember, we're looking at properties of addition right now. And so you're simply going to look, and did I change the order? Did I change the group? Am I adding 0 so that I maintain the same number? Or did I add its opposite so that I got a 0? And when we look at letter A, we've changed the order. That makes this the commutative property. In letter B, x plus the opposite of x. That's that inverse property. What undoes. Inverses are the tools that we use to undo something. The inverse property of addition. Letter C. We've added 0, so that is the identity, right? We maintained our identity. Now when we get this set like letter D, when you have lots, or really not lots, when you have more than 2 items on your list, the first thing you want to do is just do a visual check. Is everything in the same order? X, R, D. X, R, D. And is it all addition? Yep. Yep. Once we've answered yes to both of those, then we can start working on, did I change order or did I change a group? And in this case, we changed a group, so we know that this is really the associative property. Another case of opposites, so that this is the inverse property. Now I can tell you that this letter D, you should put a star next to that one because that problem, letter D, put a star next to that one. There will be a problem on our next quiz that will look a lot like this one, and you need to be cautious because it could or it could not be a trick question. So make sure that you're really looking at, did I change an order? Did I change a group? Am I adding the opposite? Am I adding 0? What's really happening in that problem? Make sure you start using your words to describe it. That's the last of the property things that I want to fill in, but there are some problems down here for you to check over, some addition things, and I want to make sure that we talk here in problems 1 and 2 about this fraction answer. And when we look at this fraction answer, I wanted to call your attention to the fact that either of these answers are acceptable. I would rather get the improper fraction. Mixed numbers aren't going to do us a lot of good for very long. They're great for story problems and things like that, but I would much rather have the improper fraction answer. Make sure that it's simplified or reduced. Make sure that it's simplified, but I would much rather have an improper fraction. I will not mark not, unless I've asked differently, asked for it. It's event specific. I will not mark a mixed number wrong. So again, some more practice problems down here with addition and subtraction, or really just addition. Check over your work. If you have questions over any of those problems I didn't talk in depth, make sure you ask me about those in class so we can go over them together on the board. Okay? And I will see you in our next video.